Hi, this is Arry Yu, Chair of the Cascadia Blockchain Council and your host for Windshield Time and also these AMAs, Ask Me Anythings with the Blockchain Underground. Today, we had a really great special guest, Li Jiang from Harmony One. He answered all these great questions and talked a lot about the future of the world, GameFi, metaverses, Web3, all this great stuff that's going on today. So I hope you really enjoy the show. I learned a lot. Hope you do as well. We have these AMAs every Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. And you can sign up on the Blockchain Underground on meetup.com. I hope you'll join us and together we rise. Bye. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our weekly AMA. I'm really happy that we can have Li join us for our AMA today. He's from Harmony One. They've been doing so well. I'm so excited to ask questions and learn more about Harmony, but I'll let Li do the introduction of himself. Li, can you introduce yourself for people that don't know you and give the long form version? Like, how did you get into Harmony and crypto and like, what's your background?
Yeah. I was born on a cold winter day in 1987. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, the entire life. Yeah, life story. But no, it's really great to be here. And actually, I think I love having this nice little community. Actually, it reminds me of the way that Harmony started.
Oh, yeah.
And the way Harmony started was through a community. It was a meetup event in Sunnyvale, and we would get together every week again, just talk about ideas. And eventually, around 2017, Stephen, the founder of Harmony, started writing the white paper, the first version. And the idea has always been the same. It's always about scaling, building a scalable blockchain that would serve the next 100 million users, let's say. And today, like, blockchain is still a very nascent field. I mean, we have tokens that have billions of dollars of value, but really there's 1 to 10 million users. And so on the internet scale or on a global scale, we're still very much in the early days. And so that's what's exciting. I guess you wanted an introduction, but I used to be a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, did some investments, and then around 2017, 18, through this meetup group that we had every week, just met the founding team of Harmony, met Stephen, the founder, and that's how I got into the project. It was very organic. It was just like, hey, we want to work with some good friends. Back then, 4 years ago, we had no idea what the future. I mean, we had some, theories about where the world is going, but really, we didn't imagine it would be like this today. And well. And the journey the last 4 years has been fascinating. One year in crypto is 10 years in the real world. So it's like Inception. It's like a dream within the dream. And so yeah, we've done a lot in the last 4 years, and it's still day one. It's still very early. I'd love to actually get to know some of you. For anybody who's in the Bay Area, also love to meet you. And hopefully we can build something together. That's this whole spirit of Web3, that we can all collaborate, build, integrate each other's protocol. Everything is an open protocol. The entire Harmony blockchain is open source. In fact, you can take the whole thing today and build a new blockchain with it. But yeah, maybe I'll stop there. Hopefully it wasn't too long, but love to hear from everyone on this call.
Yeah, not too long at all. Then I guess are you like, so you're in the Harmony protocol world and the one and everything. Are you immersed in this particular blockchain, or are you also, do you believe in the blockchain ethos, and do you believe in crypto, and are you trading Ether and Stellar and stuff like that? Or like, what's your role, and how wide do you go in this ecosystem personally?
Yeah, so actually interesting. I learned about Bitcoin in 2012 from my roommate. Yeah, a long time ago. And 2013 there was a wave of crypto exchanges and remittances. And that was the first use case of Bitcoin. Everyone realized you can send money across borders over the internet. Great. But then, 2015 was the launch of Ethereum, and the idea of smart contracts, that you can that blockchain is a general purpose computing platform that is Turing complete. You can write any application on it, right? And that opened up a whole new world. But of course, Ethereum has its own limitations with proof of work and how and slow, and it's great. I actually love it. It's the one that introduced the world to the smart contracts. But I think this next generation around 2017 with Harmony, also a number of other projects started around the same time, like Near, Solana, Polygon, all had this idea of building a more scalable blockchain. And I think the next wave of this is actually building bridges between all the blockchains. And we started doing that last year. We have a bridge to Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and a bridge to Bitcoin that will be launching hopefully very soon. And actually, like when we use the internet, like we're on this Zoom call, we don't say like which internet are you using. It's just the internet. It's just in the background now, right? And I think the idea for the next 4 years, the vision of blockchain really is to be a unifying, for Harmony also, is to be a unifying platform where actually you don't really have to know, like, am I in this wallet? Am I using this token? Like, those all need to be abstracted away from the user. Otherwise, the next 100 million people are not going to come in, okay, I got a MetaMask. Now I have to set this network setting. And by the way, the network number is like 016000257. Like, it's just, and your wallet address, right? Like all your identity, actually, I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but your identity should not be 0x35728 BG1217. Like it should be, some real ENS or other sort of way of working with each other. And so yeah, it's still very early days. And oh, back to your question, right? We always go on these journeys, but I actually think that we're an open platform. We want to work with all the ecosystems, like even other chains, right? Everyone says like, who are your competitors? Well, I don't think of them as competitors. They're obviously our peers and our like we want to connect actually every chain. It really it's okay actually, and we've done research that understands how to connect any proof of work and any proof of stake blockchain bridge in a trustless way. And that's going to be the foundation to actually what I was mentioning earlier, like a single internet, not like 12 different internets with different ways to log into each, right?
Can I ask it's a very like Seattle centric question, but here locally we have a company called Dragon Chain that launched in 2017, and they're supposed to be the interchain, the middle blockchain that connects them all. And so like for someone that's new to this space and they don't really understand Dragon Chain versus Harmony versus Polygon or whatever, like what is Harmony? Like is Harmony like another Ethereum but it has more scalable and faster transactions and you're connecting them all, or like what else? Or is that's straightforward?
Yeah, so a simple, actually you said the answer already, which is Harmony is like another Ethereum. We were inspired by Ethereum 2.0. So building a proof of stake blockchain that also has sharding, which just means that the transactions and the storage are broken into multiple shards on the network so that you can parallel process things much faster. And actually, it's not a new idea for sure. Like centralized databases, like parallel computing was solved a long time ago, right? It's just that in a decentralized way, how do we do this and make it secure, decentralized, and scalable? The blockchain trilemma. And so, yes, as you mentioned, like in fact, any Ethereum application that can run on the Ethereum virtual machine can run on Harmony. We actually run the Ethereum virtual machine on top of the Harmony blockchain, so EVM compatible.
So Ethereum's moving to EWASM. I don't know if that's the way you say it, but does that matter for the compatibility between Ethereum on EVM versus EWASM, and as it moves it to like Ethereum 2.0? And I have another follow-on question with that. Like Vitalik Buterin wrote the Endgame recently, and to me, like in his essay, he's like, oh shit, I don't even know if this is going to work out in the end. I don't know it seemed to be like he was throwing in the towel on the whole Ethereum 2.0 project. Did you read that? And what are your thoughts on that? It's sorry, multiple questions.
No worries. So like compatibility, Solidity will still be around for a long time. So I think EVM will still be around. Like eWASM will, like WASM as a. I have some friends who are very much in love with WASM. So I think it'll be implemented on blockchain, basically on multiple blockchains. Like it's just the layer on top. It's the execution on top of the actual chain itself. So we'll build that as well if that's where the industry is going. And then with the end game, like I have my own opinions about Ethereum 2.0. I actually think it's maybe not even necessary. Like there's so many other scaling solutions and chains that will support the ecosystem. And it's really about at the end of the day, we're all actually on the same wavelength, right? It's all about getting more users into Web3 and building the infrastructure that can support 100 million users. Right now, if tomorrow 100 million users came into Web3, actually every blockchain will break. Like I can tell you that it won't like weird things will happen, fees will start increasing. Like it will be a huge it'll be chaotic. So I think there's a path, right, where the infrastructure needs to keep getting better and better, making the state. I mean, most blockchains honestly have like huge storage issues now because not issues, but you need to be a very specialized like validator and node operator to like run one of these full nodes, right? Whether it's on Ethereum or even any of the new chains, it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger unless we figure out zero knowledge proofs that have very succinct way of storing data. There are a lot of things that need work in this space. So what Vitalik mentioned about the end game, yeah, I think maybe he's thinking about like what happens when the next billion people come into the space, right? And it may not be Ethereum 2.0. Like Ethereum 2.0 may not ever ship because we can't even agree on what it is. So but that's okay. It won't be the end of blockchain. There'll be other projects, other solutions, other chains, and Ethereum mainnet today can be the security layer for all the other chains that will bridge to it. I mean, there are ways of the other one you should read is the article about monolithic versus modular blockchains. I think Vitalik also wrote an article about this where I think it was him. No, it was someone else, but the idea is that in the future, blockchains will be modular but connected with each other instead of building this one giant chain that does the data storage execution together.
Yeah.
So there are many ways this can play out, right?
Interesting. I want to backtrack to the term Web3. We've mentioned it a few times already in the past 10-15 minutes, and there have been a bunch of different definitions running around, and a bunch of VCs, your old neighborhood, they've been talking about Web3. For the record, how do you define Web3?
Web3 is what you want it to be. No, it's interesting. I mean, it's a catch-all. It's a catch-all, right? It's like the metaverse. We can actually make it whatever we really want. There's some fundamental principles like that I think like you have custody of your own data, you have custody of your own funds. That makes Web3 different from Web2, right? Web2 is owned by companies. Web3 should be owned by each individual. And I think everything else is pretty much up to us to how we shape it, right? The Web3 may not even be a term for technology, more so it is a cultural term and an ethos of what it means, right? Like I own my own data, like I actually earn tokens for work that I do, right? That's not a technology, that's just a way of life and way of looking at the world, and that's Web3.
I like that. I like that nuanced perspective. Yeah. I have a couple of questions on Harmony, and then I'll open it up to the community to ask questions. But I think DeFi Kingdoms is the most successful project on Harmony. So Can you provide some comments and perspectives on DeFi Kingdoms, aka DFK? Like
DFK.
with that.
Yeah, no, it's great that they became the number one game by volume recently. But actually, yeah, an interesting story, a history about DeFi Kingdoms is when they first launched, we didn't know the team. It was permissionlessly launched. They actually didn't contact us at first. Like we started hearing, like it was very organic. Like there was a project and it's called DeFi Kingdoms, and it's this DEX and game together. At first, we did not quite understand, what was going on. Like, why do you have all these things? And the vision of what you see now, the heroes and all the metaverse. Actually, we didn't have that back then, but now it makes much more sense. Where I have this theory, which is that everything that we talked about last year, like games, DeFi, NFTs, they're actually all going to start converging into the same thing, which is the metaverse. Like you can go into the Web3 metaverse and work while you play, while you collect, heroes and NFTs. So the line between while you're earning money, right? So the line between finance, game, what is a finance, what is a game, what is an NFT? Like they're all going to be under the same platform. And the interesting thing is even on Harmony, right? Like there are DeFi projects that they're no longer pure DeFi projects anymore. They're all launching DeFi as part of their own metaverse universe, right? Like it's like when you live, it's like you don't have a town where like all they have is banks and shops, right? You have like banks and theaters and you can go to the movies, you can go to parks, right? It's a city, right? You don't have like a single, ATM machine. That's what DeFi 1.0 is, just an ATM machine that you can play around with. But I actually see projects within Harmony and probably broadly that are pivoting from, one category into this much larger metaverse narrative.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
My mind is going like, whoa. The second question is GameFi. How does GameFi conceptually work on blockchain? And then in regards to Harmony, does every single action get recorded on the Harmony chain? Because that's a lot of actions and transactions being recorded. And how does that work?
Yeah, so different games work differently, right? I think with DeFi Kingdoms, pretty much every like major action is recorded on chain, right? If you start a quest, you have to sign the transaction. If you make your hero, if you summon a hero, you sign a transaction. So this is actually a question about user experience, because if you want 1 billion people to do it, like not everyone's going to get a MetaMask and sign all your transactions. So the idea is it's already, I think, discussed in the DFK Discord, so I can say it publicly, is there'll be some abstraction. Maybe there'll be a deposit, like, hey, you deposit, $5 at the beginning of the month, and then you can do all these other actions within the game. You can play the game without having to do any of the transactions. They'll sign it in the background for you, right? The action's on chain, but it's abstracted away from the users. So I think the answer is that's where it's going. There will be more and more games that like blockchain in the past weren't good for games because it was expensive and slow, right? So you couldn't really play. But now with all these scaling solutions and maybe some of you have actually played Dark Forest, which is a zero knowledge power game that I haven't played it personally, but I think there are things. Yeah, you should go check out Dark Forest. But I think basically, like, if you remember games from 1990s, right? Like, and the pixel graphics and little characters versus games today, like it's a huge difference. And I think, that's the inevitable evolution of technology, right? Is to make it better. And I'm excited to see what the metaverse is going to be with VR too,
Crazy stuff. Yeah, it must be so cool to be like living in this day in and day out, in the trenches, working with Harmony. I'm a few years removed now, so I'm kind of like flying out in the outer spaces. I'll open up the questions to the community. Just use the hand raise, or just somehow note to me that you'd like to ask a question, or pop it into the chat, and I can read it off if you're shy and you don't want to come on camera and ask. All right, we have a thumbs up from Tomas. Tomas, do you want to ask a question, or was that just a thumbs up?
Yeah, absolutely. Lee, nice to meet you. Wanted to quickly ask a question about the $1 billion fund that you guys announced. How are you looking at an ROI? Are you looking for like, hey, if we invest $1,000, we need to see $10,000 in TVL moving on chain? Like, how are you thinking about prioritizing projects that apply for funds in terms of ROI for Harmony One?
Yeah, so that's a good question. In some ways, right, it's not the same as a venture fund. We're not venture capitalists, and we don't think of ourselves as venture capitalists. It's really to incentivize and grow the ecosystem, and increase the utility of the Harmony One token as well. So there is this implicit calculation about ROI, right? Like if we give this developer a $50,000 grant, that the product that they build will be hugely successful. Like, let's say if we actually gave DeFi Kingdoms a $1 million grant together with them, they're actually contributing $2 million of Jewel, but it's not necessary to get more TVL. Like, there are other factors, right? We want to get more users, more gamers into the ecosystem, and do hackathons to build worlds on top of DeFi Kingdoms, right? And so I would say that yes, there's this idea, the concept of ROI, but not calculated in the same way that a VC would.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Actually, Tomas, you should, for anyone asking questions, introduce yourself too. Like, Tomas, introduce yourself for context.
Yeah, so I've been in the blockchain space for a few years. Right now, running sales of Chainlink, and I know we are doing a lot with you guys. My team's doing a lot with you, as well, on the board of a couple other startup blockchain projects. Very interested in blockchain and climate. That's becoming my side passion. How do we solve climate change and all of the issues that we have with climate using blockchain? I think that's a tremendous opportunity for climate, as well for blockchain, to do something that really is outside of blockchain and changes the world and does something good. So that's my passion, and that's my day job.
Awesome. Thank you, Tomas.
Amazing.
Hey, Brigitta, you got your hand up. Thank you.
Hello. Thanks so much. Really appreciate the conversation. You mentioned the NEAR protocol as well, and I'm just wondering if you can also make that quick comparison between Harmony One and NEAR. Is there much difference there? And then just in terms of introduction, sorry, Arry, I forgot to do that at first. My background is healthcare, and so spent many years in healthcare, really recognizing that we talk about transformation, but have no tech stack behind our PowerPoints at all. And so really excited about the fact that now with Web3, there is this opportunity to have a solid tech stack, and using the metaphor from Bitcoin, Bitcoin didn't go in and change finance. It was this new set of rails on the side. And if you want to use it, come on over. I think there's an opportunity to do this here in health as well. And it would be exciting to see how Harmony would play a role in building a new tech stack that supported a new set of rails for healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Actually, a healthcare data marketplace was one of the first ideas that we had in 2017. First, yeah, and I think it's interesting because that one is where, like, the bottleneck is actually not the technology; it's more the company and the culture, right? And so I think the tech is ready for, probably it may not even be in the United States where the first applications are used. For all of our regulation and whatever reasons, but I think the long term is, yes, like health data and all kinds of personal data will reside on blockchain. It will be secure and private, privacy, whether it's zero knowledge proof. Like, you should be able to, well, two examples, right? You should be able to get a mortgage without telling the bank what your financial data is. All they need to know is that you qualify for this mortgage. Right. Same for healthcare insurance, like health insurance. Like you don't necessarily need to give them every piece of health data that you have. They just need to know that you qualify for this level of insurance. Like, and that will be done via zero knowledge proofs. It's just a matter of time and putting enough research and enough the right like pressure on products and finding the customers. But I'll answer your first question about Near, which is we're actually very good friends. We started Near and us. We remember the meetup group that I talked about. we hung out together in that same group, and the whole idea of blockchain was kind of it's always around the same time, right? Like, yeah, they started their project. We started ours. There's some technical differences, like they're written in Rust, so writing applications on Near is slightly different. They now have Aurora, which is their EVM compatible, so you can deploy Solidity apps on Near as well. I think it's either a separate execution environment or like another piece of their chain. We're both doing sharding, actually. Interesting enough, like we actually shared a lot of research ideas around sharding together. And yeah, I mean, I think it's also a great project. Like I hope I think, as I mentioned earlier, right, like competition is probably not the right word, but more like coordination. That's really the word I hope we can think about. It's like all these blockchains can grow. And by the way, we can bridge to Near. They have the Rainbow Bridge to Ethereum, where EVM compatible. Like we've actually talked to them about it too. So I actually do think that, like, yeah, short term there might be some competition for applications or developers. I mean, everyone wants to get more developers into their own ecosystem, but in the long run, like all the chains will actually be bridged inevitably, whether we do it or they do it or some third party project. Like this year will be, you'll see 2017, 2018, there were so many new chains started. This year and next year, or probably just this year, you're going to see like hundreds of bridging projects that get started, right? Because that's the next layer of infrastructure that needs to happen for the whole space.
Excellent. Super. And, it's been a while since myself and perhaps others on the call had a succinct understanding of sharding. I don't know if you want to take a few minutes to talk sharding with us.
Sure.
Is that all right?
It's a very simple, yeah, it's like, it's a very simple concept, like parallel computing. Instead of having everything go through one network, you're actually having transactions go through, you break the network into pieces. Like right now we have 4 shards, 4 pieces, and you can have transactions go through any of these 4 sections of the network. And you can do, and so basically it's like, the idea is uniformly breaking the network so that you can parallel process as many transactions as possible, so that in the future, right, you can, as more nodes join the network, you can actually create more shards in the network to handle more demand. It's the whole sharding is just like this architecture. It's just the design that allows for more scalability.
All right. So that's how we get from our 100 million to 1 billion, right?
Yeah, hopefully, or actually 10 million users. I'm sure there's not 100 million users in crypto right now.
Okay. 10 million get to 1 billion.
10 million to 1 billion. It's 100x growth that needs a lot of technical support.
Super. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Brigitte. Hey, Teddy, long time no see. Looks like you have a question. Introduce yourself and ask your question.
Yes, hi everyone. Sorry I got on the call a little bit late. I'm actually at a medical conference, so I apologize. And listened to most of the talk, but I got stuck talking to some random person here. In any case, I was actually going to piggyback off of what Geta was just talking about, because she and I are both in healthcare. I'm actually at like an industry neurology conference that's about imaging and technology, and the keynote conversation right now at the conference is talking about privacy and healthcare technology. And there's an ongoing debate, like literally happening right now, in regards to industry leaders in what I do, related to brain tumors or strokes or whatever, and imaging related to that, saying, you know, open source sharing of data and the privacy related to that, you know, ethically, are we violating patient care, so to speak? But then having an innovators talk about how, you know, essentially, unless we have things like blockchain technology and, you know, zero-proof kind of knowledge in terms of security, so to speak, I mean, basically privacy for all intents and purposes for the amount of data that's out there is dead. And because, you know, a ton of healthcare data is out, you know, and it's probably just floating out there, and we share it all the time. And we have this very kind of simple view of privacy, at least in the healthcare world. So I guess the question I have for you is, outside of cryptocurrency and in the financial areas, like, I think the next issue with Web 3.0 is the translation of how blockchain technology can be used in a lot of, you know, other arenas of life, and all these hundreds of, you know, blockchains are going to be developed. I mean, it's great in this community, and, you know, for early adopters or people who are interested, that's great. But I got to tell you, like, I mean, I'm in a room with like probably 100 doctors, and probably 5 people understand what's being talked about, and 95 of them are like, oh, there's no way we can, you know, it's ethically immoral, and, you know, all these kind of antiquated views on data privacy. So I was curious on how you think about that related to blockchain. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I think you're right that the last 4 years, even with all this building, we still haven't engaged most of the world. Like, there's a lot of DeFi, like there's almost like it's like an insider club. It's like, oh, there's the degens, and then there's like the NFT collectors, and as you mentioned, whether it's climate or health, like the blockchain's impact has been relatively minimal. But yeah, that's something that the next 4 years that we really look forward to is actually making real world impact. And I think the onus is actually on people in the industry, like us, or applications, to build a product that is preserving your privacy. Like, we have to actually just kind of show people. Like, I wouldn't really expect, you know, 100 doctors to like wake up tomorrow and understand like privacy on blockchain, right? But if you build like a product that can be used for end users, then it's fine, right? Like, people, most of us on this call probably don't know how exactly TCP/IP works and how data packets transfer over the internet, and you don't have to. So what I think is actually missing is, of course, the infrastructure needs to get better, but this like middle layer and then the application layer is actually still really not that great. Like, you know, wallets is one area where I hope we can make a big impact this year, is giving you an easy to access mobile wallet that doesn't require a seed phrase, like the 24-word seed phrase, but it's still secure because it's a smart contract wallet. And then you can use that to put your data in there with privacy, to put your tokens, to put your NFT collections, it could be your voting tool for DAOs that you're part of. Like, we really think that actually a wallet will become one of the biggest products in Web3, because that's how you hold like your identity, hold your data, and that could be a unifying product that solves some of the things that you're talking about.
Li, do you want to talk a little about zero knowledge proofs? Because I think people understanding what amazing things can be done with that technology, like ability to prove something without sharing any data about yourself. It's amazing, especially for healthcare. Like, yeah, the example about loans was interesting, but the healthcare is even better, right? Ability to qualify for a procedure or something without the doctor needing to know your name or seeing your picture. They simply need to know that, yes, you qualify.
Yes, exactly. So I think we actually wrote a whole article about, it's actually harmony.1/ZKP is the link, a zero knowledge proof. And so actually the idea of zero knowledge has been around for a long time. Like, I think it was from the 80s or something. And it's basically related to computer science and cryptography, where like you can show that you know the answer to something just because you know the right path, without letting people see all the data. You just need to show that you have this, you have the answer, and you qualify for something, right? And so we've been trying to harmony.one.one/ZKP, and we've been trying to now put this on blockchain. And I think now is the right time. Like every technology has a certain inflection point where it's just ready. And so we see some products being shipped on Ethereum mainnet, and and those can all be, built on a cheaper, easier blockchain. There's I think I'm not the expert on zero knowledge by any means, but the bottleneck, as I understand, is really the cost, because you have to do a lot of computation to prove something, and so getting the cost down of doing a proof is actually what's going to open it up to more people being able to use it. But there are zero knowledge applications already in the blockchain space. The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet.
Oh, thank you for the explanation. Next up, we have Carlos. Carlos, do you want to give a quick intro of yourself for Lee, and then ask your question?
Hi, Lee. Thanks for getting together with us today. My name is Carlos Tapan, and I'm into stable coins. I have looked at Ethereum, and Ethereum went up in transaction fees. And then I looked at Binance. Now we're looking at Solana because of the transaction fees. We are also using our stable coin for remittance, and that's why transaction fees are very important for us. So my question is, what do you have in Harmony that would convince me to build for your blockchain?
Yeah, so for sure, we also have our fees are actually almost close to zero. Yeah, it's hard to explain unless you actually try to use an app. Like try any of the decentralized exchange or go on DeFi Kingdoms. You'll see like that effectively, yeah, the fees are incredibly low, and it would, for the stablecoin use case or remittances, it's actually amazing, because you can send now, let's say even $1 million to another country and pay less than $1 in fees, which is mind-boggling. And you can do that on the Harmony network, right? So end to end, and there's no Western Union, there's no other like middle people to take a cut. So yes, stablecoins have been growing for 4 years, right? And it's going to keep growing. It may surpass stablecoins may actually surpass actual dollar circulation at some point in the next 4 years.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Yeah. So for sure, like I think we are building the platform. I mean, also nothing against Solana. They also started in San Francisco around the same time we did. And I think that they're also a really good platform with USD and some of these stable coins. And you can also use the same on Harmony. So I think, I mean, we're like, the economy is going to keep growing on both chains, I hope. And yeah, would love to, by the way, yeah, if you want to get in contact with me, we can chat more about it anytime to see how we can help you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Brandon. Hi, Brandon. Introduce yourself and ask your questions.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey.
My name is Brandon. I appreciate this conversation, Lee. It has been very insightful for me. As far as like my background, I'm prior military. I was in the Navy for like 9 years. I just got out last year. And I've been in the crypto space for like, I'd say going on almost 2 years. I first discovered it like when COVID hit and, lockdown, you had nothing to do but your computer and stuff like that. But so my question is going between like Solana, it seems like Solana is like getting like the most publicity and like the most narrative right now. Yeah. And I've used both like Harmony and Solana, and they've got some good experiences with like their dexes. However, I do have a concern with Solana with it being shut down like multiple times. It just makes you think, oh, if somebody can shut it down, then it's not really that decentralized. So I guess like my main question is for Harmony, like what makes Harmony different from Solana?
Yeah, so the answer is all these blockchains sit on kind of a spectrum, right? Like it's not either or. Like Solana has certain designs that where they prioritize speed and performance, but you need a fairly powerful node to run one of their nodes. And so there's a design decision, like it's a conscious decision. And I think that we all want to get to the same end goal, which is like a blockchain that is very fast, is highly performant, and is very decentralized. It's just that which of these do you choose to do first, and how much to push on each. So for us, it's really about, of course, performance, but decentralization at the same time. So we have 100 and almost 100, I think almost 200 external validators that run the network, run the node. You can run it on AWS or DigitalOcean or any cloud service. It's not like very hard. And our goal is also the same, is to make it easier and for anybody to run a node. Ideally, like we always have this dream of, you can open your cell phone, a smartphone, and run a node, run a full node. And I think that will happen, not like this month, but it's like, something that we want to make happen. And yeah, I think it's just that we're in different like part of the journey where I would say that Solana actually is really fast, right? It's 400 milliseconds, as they say, or 1 second, and we're 2 seconds, and that's a very conscious like design decision that we made to go not for like pure performance, but some aspects of decentralization, performance, and security at the same time.
Lee, when you say 2 seconds, do you mean finality or block times?
It's both. Finality and block time is 2 seconds, and we want to get it to 1 second this year. So
great, that's awesome.
Can you talk a little more about harmony and decentralization? Like, would you talk about in terms of number of nodes that you have, kind of like some statistics? I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, sure. So the network has 1,000 node slots, but people can run a few more than one. So right now there are 200 unique external validators, right? And we want that to actually be a much bigger number, like 1,000 node operators. And there's also a path of getting there, which is to lower the barrier for each individual validator. It may include things like capping the number of slots that a single validator can run, so that people are not taking up too many. And so these are, it's like a spectrum and an evolution. Like this is a path that we know that we're going down in. It's just how far have we gone down the path of decentralization. So I would say, yeah, today we've got a very like diverse network of validators, but it's still just day one. There's still a lot more work to be done.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think when it gives you for people that are new to blockchain or the technical stuff, or you're even comparing cryptocurrencies, there's a give and take on the features and characteristics of these blockchains and cryptos. And so you have to think about what's important to you and what you're looking for, and have that mental model as you go into this. Yeah, Thomas wrote, there's a joke about being fast, cheap, and good. You have to pick two. And then Chris wrote, decentralization, security, or speed, pick two. So those are really good points. Thanks for sharing, everyone. More questions, you guys? I know we have a bunch of technical folks in the room. We have some new people.
Yeah, actually, I'm curious about, you mentioned interoperability and a multi-chain world, Lee, and that's great. So what is your strategy with regards to that? Are you going with the Cosmos or the Tendermint way of doing it, or something else?
So we'll be quite different from the way Cosmos and Tendermint, because they it's Cosmos is multi-chain, but within the Cosmos IBC ecosystem. What we're trying to do, and we're in the process of doing, is multi-chain, but with any chain, whether it's compatible with Harmony or not. So we built the bridge to Ethereum. We built a bridge to Binance Smart Chain. Those are very natural because we're all EVM compatible. But now we're building a bridge to Bitcoin that has that's a totally new architecture, right? And so our research is done around how to bridge any two blockchains using these things called light clients, where you can see the data on both chains, and you can lock and mint tokens on the two chains using this lock, mint, and lock and burn mechanism. And it should scale to any blockchain, meaning we can, like, of course, it takes a lot of work to build each one of these.
Yes,
like
it's difficult. I think it's gonna be
difficult.
It's very
not
ambitious.
trivial.
Yeah.
But I think the design is there that we can replicate this across any blockchain. And also, by the way, since you mentioned Cosmos, we are working with an external team that we gave a grant to build a Cosmos Harmony bridge as well. So our goal is to keep doing this. As I mentioned this year, right? It will be the year of bridges. It will be the year of DAOs. So I think in the longer term, like let's say 4 years, it's really for the user. They don't need to know which chain they're on. They just need to interact with the application layer, like not the blockchain layer anymore.
That would be amazing. What chain are you on? What?
Yeah, what's a chain? What's a blockchain, right? Like,
yeah, that would be really awesome. Brigitte asks, oh, sorry.
No, we're just on Zoom. We're on Zoom, but we're not on the internet.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Brigitte asks, what does Harmony One need next, and how can we, the community, help?
So I think the biggest thing really is help bring more utility and impact. So what we need is actually developers and people who are building the applications, right? Because at the end of the day, we're still the infrastructure or the tool layer, and actually the whole space, not just Harmony, but the entire blockchain space. We need more people to build products that can connect the end users and the use cases with the blockchain, right? And it's really that product mentality. Deploying a smart contract on blockchain is actually not that complicated. There are these guides, tutorials, like you can find a Solidity developer, but it's really like the intersection of the users, product, and then putting that all together into something that like the next 10 million, 100 million people use. That's going to be the battle, right? For the next few years.
So the race to build the useful dApp is back on.
Yes.
2017 was the year of dApps, decentralized applications, and everyone was building one. But then we were like, wait a minute, we need more protocols and we need more blockchains and infrastructures, and it's not ready for this stuff. So we went back into layer one stuff, and now we're going back to we need more dApps.
Well, I think it's kind of both working together, right? Better infrastructure. The infrastructure is good enough, but I think the application, like 2017, we were talking about decentralizing Airbnb and decentralized Uber and all of these things. Those are actually really hard to do from a market user, how to create the right incentive perspective, right? Or so state of the dApps.
Back to the dApps. Harish, you have a hand up. Want to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone, so I'm Harish. I've been a software engineer for about 5 years or so now, and I got into the blockchain or cryptocurrency space around 2017. Yeah. That's when with all the peak, that piqued my interest too, and I've been following it casually ever since. And lately, just starting to take a little bit more deeper look into it. And as I take a deeper look into it, I have this nagging question about the general purpose blockchains that we have, starting with Ethereum and so on. So the main idea behind the general purpose blockchains are that they can store anything and everything, and they can be used to support any kind of applications as it is, right? That approach, that doesn't sound scalable to me. That's like, I'm thinking about beyond the current, the transactions per second issues we have, or the throughput we have. Like, can a blockchain, which is a public database, essentially, can one database store all the data for every application in the world that we're planning to build? And this applies to, Ethereum, starting with Ethereum, to all the general purpose blockchains that we have. I understand we talked about sharding, techniques of sharding and stuff. Yeah, sure. I think they might help to some extent in terms of, like do parallel processing and stuff, but that also takes away decentralization aspect of it, right? And like this ties in well with I think the comment about, like there are three things, pick two, right? So how do you think about this issue of general purpose blockchains being able to support as many diverse applications as possible? Is that a scalable model?
So I think the reality is that the general purpose blockchain, I believe in the general purpose blockchain, meaning that I don't see the rationale for like, oh, we're going to make a blockchain for games or make a blockchain for NFTs. Like the blockchain is general purpose because it's permissionless, meaning like the blockchain, it's a technology, right? Technology doesn't have a mind of its own. Like we don't say what this chain is for. Like the users and the application and the developers determine what the chain is used for. But on the other hand, your question is, does all the world's information get stored on a single chain? And the answer, I think, is no, in that there'll be like 10 blockchains, right? Like why, if you look at the smart contract platforms, there are at least 10, if not 20, that are multiple billions of dollars in value in market cap today. And the reason is because I think the market believes that there will be multiple chains, right? There needs to be more than one. And again, it's like right now, if you use Harmony and Near and Solana, you have to have 3 separate wallets and you have to have 3 separate tokens. But a few years from now, maybe you don't. You have one wallet that have, USD. It could even be some abstraction like USD token, and you could be running applications on 3 different blockchains. Like the wallet is the interface that calls the chains. You're not doing it as a user anymore, right? So I guess the idea is like all the world's information can fit on blockchain, but multiple of them. But the user only needs to interact with one application at a time that then will call APIs, call bridge APIs. Like there'll be lots of other layers underneath this, right? Like you don't know how your iPhone works. I don't know how my iPhone works. I open the app and it works. And that's the experience that
but it has Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS, right? Those are all separate networks.
Yes, exactly.
I think that makes sense. The users themselves, they don't have to really care about what's the underlying technology that's supporting all of this. But the core idea to me about blockchains is it's decentralized. And the more, for example, when you think about the next billion users actually starting to use more of blockchain-based apps, even though they may not actually know what blockchain is, we're going to generate tons of data on it, right? And even if it is not a single chain that's going to hold all of this data, that is still going to be, even if it's like 10, 20 chains, that is still going to be substantial amount of data in each of these chains. And when we think about providing the security of these chains, like the validators and stuff, and they are the ones who actually have to be, somebody has to be holding this data, right? Yes. And if you're thinking about, say, 1,000 validators per chain, those 1,000 people have to hold that data. Yes. And if that, the amount of data, like grows by, factor of 1 billion or 4 billion people or so, they are going to become very concentrated in terms of you need to be very specialized to actually hold the data to be a validator. And that takes away from the decentralized nature of it.
Yes. So that problem already exists today. Like the storage for validators is already like breaking a lot of nodes. And I think you're right. Like all the problems you identify are right. And so there's either two paths, right? One is not all the data needs to be on chain. Like some will there'll be a spectrum. It's never like 100% or zero. Like there will be some data that's on chain and some that's maybe not on chain. But the other path is really innovation and the idea of zero knowledge and making the chain so succinct that you don't need to store the entire state. You just need to prove that you actually have the correct latest state of the blockchain, if that makes if that makes sense, right? And so these are like ideas that people are working on that I think could come to fruition again, like over the next couple of years, that will allow blockchain to be used by 1 billion people. But for sure, like I agree with you that the technology today will not support 1 billion people or even 100 million people. Like we wake up tomorrow with 100 million users, like everything will be down.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Darish, we're at about time right now. I'd say let's wrap up. For folks that want to get in touch with you, Li, or learn more about Harmony, or what are the social links that everyone should follow, would you be willing to share and also type it into the chat for people to get involved and learn more or get in touch?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm on Twitter. My DMs are actually open, so anybody in the world can message me on Twitter. But also, like, my email is lee@harmony.one, so it's very easy to type in. But yeah, do you want me to type it in, or we can?
Yeah. What's your Twitter?
My Twitter is twitter.com/Li Jiang 2087. Yeah, there you go. And
2087. All right.
yeah, and then everything about Harmony is actually written on a public page, open.harmony.one. So all the things that we talked about: zero knowledge, scalability, trade-offs, DAOs, metaverse. We actually probably have one article for each of those topics on that page. So yeah, please feel free to take a look.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time, Li. Wait, there's a couple more questions. Luggage Donkey says, besides DFK, what are 3 other projects you are really excited about? Do you want to call them out?
You should look on harmonyuniverse.one. All the applications are on there, but 3 other projects. I mean, there are 3 other metaverse launching, like Mars Colony and Ragnarok and Stellaverse. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm excited about all the metaverse projects, because that's actually like changing the way people are going to think about how to live their lives. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Li, for your time. Everyone, make sure you follow Li on Twitter. It's Li Jiang 2087. Check out open.harmony.one. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And then keep in touch. We'll definitely have to get a catch up with you and Harmony in the next several months and see where it's going, or ping us whenever you want to chat about stuff or want feedback.
Sounds good. Thanks for welcoming me into your community.
Thank you, Li.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then everyone, next week we're having Rahul Sood join us, and he's doing another big project, recently funded. So come check out the next AMA as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Friday and a great weekend.
Thanks, Arry. See you guys around.
Bye.
All right. Welcome to Windshield Time, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. This podcast is non-technical, fun, informative way to learn about money, Bitcoin, blockchains, crypto, and digital assets for busy parents and working folks who are curious about these new technologies. Day, Arry, and their guests talk about these evolutionary systems of money and what they do, y'all. Because what part of your life does money not touch? This podcast is not financial advice, and your reactions are your total and complete responsibility, y'all. Now, thanks again and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
Stuck inside.